platform to build the equal technology and also collaboration and technology transfer, as well as the technology progress. Those are going to be set on top of the baseline of the open source software as a platform. All of the people that who like to be contribute to the purpose and goal of the United Nations, we are gathered in 7 to 11 March this year at the United Nations Global Service Center, Brindisi, Italy, to come up with idea that how we can support to the United Nations requirement, particularly for the operational requirement. As maybe you can consider that United Nations is an international organization which functions like a government. The United Nations GIS means is a similar kind of national spatial data infrastructure,
institutional arrangement,
NSDI. As you know that the NSDI has 5 different components. First, framework. Secondly, first, framework map. Secondly, system and services. And third, a capacity. And first, institutional arrangement. Fifth, standard. The one that we like to achieve through the UN Open GIS initiative is to support system and services and capacity. These are the broad scope of work for the UN Open GIS initiative. I like to actually explain more specific on our goal of the UN Open GIS initiative. It is to identify and develop open source GIS software that meet the requirements of the full scale of the UN operation, taking full advantage of the expertise of the UN mission partners. Currently, we have members as follow. United Nations means globally located in New York as a United Nations headquarters, and in Italy as a United Nations Global Service Center, and all of the place globally as a UN mission, for example, like DR Congo, Libya, and Somalia, and so on and so forth. The second member is United States Department of the Defense, as well as National Geospatial Intelligence Agency. And third members, Korea Research Institute for Human Settlement, and fourth, GeoSDI of the Italy. And fifth, Open Source Geospatial Foundation, and then Geospatial for All. Those are the current members to support this UN Open GIS initiative. In general, in order to sustain this goal to be achieved, we have established a governance structure as follows. United Nations, as an operational requirement to be met, is providing the operational guideline and guidance and advice and broad sense of the objectives. And contributing bodies are also providing their guidance as well to the strategic board, and strategic board electing a co-chairs. Currently, there is 3 co-chairs actually working to support this initiative. And Secretariat also is supporting the co-chair as well as the whole activities of the UN Open GIS initiative. It also has a technical advisory group who actually are doing the harmonization of the whole different activities of the spiral. And also operational requirement advisory group or requirement advisory group who actually tuning the operational requirement translate into the proper way to the technical perspective. And further, assessment team actually assessing of what was actually pursued and what was delivered. So there are four spiral that we defined so far. The spiral 1 is geoportal, and spiral 2 is capacity building, spiral 3 is geoanalysis, and spiral 4 is the data collection. Why we are called the spiral? Because we like to implement incremental approach to achieve that our goal. I'd like to actually hand over Professor Ki-Jun Lee for the next slide.
Okay, thank you, Mr. So I'd like to give a little bit more detailed information about UN OpenGIS initiative. So I'd like to give the brief idea of the approach and what's going on in UN OpenGIS initiative. So first of all, as Mr. mentioned, the activity of UN OpenGIS initiative cover whole the life cycle of geospatial information, from data collection and geospatial data management and geospatial analysis and geospatial services. In order to build the whole life cycle of geospatial information, we should set up an enterprise architecture of GIS. And because UN has a very diverse and complicated task, and there are many developments of GIS application in ad hoc manner. And the development and services are quite fragmented. These are the challenges of current United Nations NSDI. In order to overcome this problem, we set up our goal to make a GeoCloud computing environment from infrastructure as a service, data as a service, platform as a service, and software as a service. That is the basic goal of our open source UN OpenGIS initiative. So this is a little bit more detailed structure. So we try to share all the information, infrastructure, and data, and the functions and software. So we have a backbone system covering the geospatial server and spatial DBMS, and also we have several services like open source spatial analysis and map publication, and the open source geoportal for imagery and vector data, including 2D and 3D. And also we have a open source GIS solution for data collection. This is a whole picture of the activity of UN OpenGIS initiative. Okay, so first of all, one of the big challenges of UN national spatial data infrastructure is capacity. So in addition to the services and system and solution, we have to build the capacity of United Nations. So including the service development, supporting request from field maintenance and technology to transfer to developing country as well, and to catch up the evolution of technology. And the scope of capacity building should include not only individual capacity, but also institutional capacity. And the organization GEO4 is working together to provide such capacity building. And the overall approach of UN OpenGIS initiative is like this slide. To cover the whole life cycle of geospatial information, we construct enterprise GIS, and to overcome the problem of ad hoc development, we set up GeoCloud computing, and to reduce the cost of United Nations, we take the open source GIS approach. And in order to migrate from proprietary commercial products of GIS to open source GIS, we take the strategy of gradual migration and also hybrid structure. That means our system is composed of not only open source software but also the proprietary GIS software. And to make the capacity building, we are trying to set up a capacity building center. Okay, and we set up the roadmap of our initiative with the 3 different phases. The first phase is for this year, and the next 2 years is for the phase number 2, and the phase number 3 for the following years. For phase 1, number 1, the goal is to set up a fundamental setting, and the number 2 phase is for delivering the solution to United Nations. Then we may reach to a point called IOC, which means initial operating capability. Then the UN will be able to run the system within the UN structure. This is the goal of the roadmap and our initiative. And this table shows a little bit detailed activity for each stage in terms of governance and training and system infrastructure, solution and sustainable capability. Okay, then the spirals, the activity are actually carried out by the spirals from spiral 1, spiral 2, and spiral 3, and spiral 4. But this presentation will give a little bit more detail on each spiral except spiral 4. Okay. So I will give the turn to Anthony, who is taking care of the spiral 1. Okay, Anthony.
Thank you, Ki-jun. Let me see if I can request control.
I just sent you the control, but it's not letting me. It's not showing your screen.
Okay, so stand by 1 second. It's telling me to pick which screen, so.
Okay. Now we can see the screen.
My screen? Okay. Perfect.
Yes, we can see your screen.
Okay. So thank you very much for the opportunity to review Spiral 1. I want to thank the UN and everyone involved in the UN OpenGIS initiative for the chance to show you what we've done so far. So as Ki-jun just mentioned, there is a roadmap that's broken down into 3 phases. My part today is to focus in on phase 1, largely developing the fundamental infrastructure for the rest of the OpenGIS initiative going forward. Phase 1 was broken down into 3 parts. The first part was to begin to understand a governance structure. As with any large enterprise, governance is extremely important. Trying to understand, who would be involved in transitioning, who would be the leadership committees guiding decisions, and who would be the technical committees implementing those individual components of the spiral. So we were able to create several different boards and advisory groups. This is a list of some of those involved in the initial board and advisory group, although there have been some changes since then. But the important thing to note is that we have governance in place to help guide not just phase 1, but phase 2 and phase 3 into 5-year plans and beyond. The second part of phase 1 was to set up the foundational system infrastructure for what the UN OpenGIS initiative would look like. There are several components to talk about. The first is understanding sort of what existed today, what we were trying to transition, and what we wanted to bring on board or implement as part of phase one. The UN had quite a bit of existing geospatial data management infrastructure already. A lot of it was based on the Esri product stack, and so we wanted to make sure that we had a way to integrate or ensure that the existing infrastructure would not be interrupted, that it would continue to work as it has been working. At the same time, we were also working to transition some data into a more open geospatial data management platform, leveraging open software like PostGIS and GeoGig for version control. And the third main piece of the foundation is a new spatial data infrastructure that would enable collaboration, content sharing, and content discovery. And that's the middle portion there outlined in red. That portion would be created largely of open source GeoServer project, the open source GeoWebCache project, and the open source GeoNode project. Well, what the group decided to do was implement an open source project known as GeoShape. And GeoShape stands for the Geospatial Capabilities for Security, Humanitarian Assistance, and Partner Engagement. This is essentially an initiative that was taken on by the U.S. Department of Defense, the Pacific Disaster Center, and others who needed a method for collection of humanitarian assistance data, as well as collaboration and a field collection of that data during a disaster. And so GeoShape is essentially the collaboration of several different open source components put together: GeoServer, PostGIS, GeoNode, and then some custom components, GeoGig for version control, AppLoom for web editing, and an application called Arbiter, which I'll show you in a minute, as a mobile application for field collection. The idea was to use GeoShape as the geospatial content management system, or GeoGIS portal, if you will, for all data sets, whether they be existing data sets, whether they be transitional data sets, or any new data sets that are collected in the field going forward. This is an example of what the GeoShape interface looks like. It's a web-based mapping application. It allows you to add layers, whether they be web service layers or local layers like shapefiles and others. It's a very intuitive interface. It allows you to create collections of layers together into web maps, and then share those web maps with the public, with certain individual users, or with certain groups of users. The goal being to facilitate the collection and collaboration of data over time and over different places. You see, you can add data from many different sources, including local sources and remote sources. And because there is version control built into the application, you can also edit data through the web or through a mobile device. So here you see GeoGig's ability to show you how two features have changed over time. In this particular case, the application collected a date. So you see the date change on the right-hand side that did not exist initially on the left-hand side. So the GeoShape application is a content management system designed to help users discover data, collaborate on data, and edit data both in the web and in the field. And the field editing is enabled through an Android application known as Arbiter. It is a native Android application designed to work very quickly and easily and allow users to edit point, line, and polygon features in the field. It allows you to link photos from the device, so as you collect data on the ground, you can also include a photo. And you can also disconnect your network connection and store base maps and layers locally so that you can work in areas that have no connectivity, no cellular service, or no Wi-Fi. The plan going forward is to migrate the initial GeoShape capability into another capability called Boundless Exchange. Exchange is very similar to GeoShape, only instead of taking individual components, GeoServer, GeoNode, MapStory, GeoGig, and MapLoom, what Exchange is all of those components already packaged together. Most importantly, Exchange includes support and maintenance. That way, if there are problems users have in the field, they have the ability to call in and get support and help for that application. NGA and the Department of Defense has also sponsored additional capabilities beyond GeoShape's initial capabilities. These include improvements for identity management, working with the UN's existing identity management system, leveraging LDAP, Active Directory, and PKI. It includes an integrated registry capability for working with other spatial data infrastructure systems that exist outside of the UN as well as inside the UN. And there is an improved mobile application for a better experience in the field and on a mobile device. You can see this is what Boundless Exchange looks like. It looks very, very similar to GeoShape. Again, all of the GeoShape functionality exists, but there are some additional capabilities now added. And of course, on the right-hand side, you see the iOS application that is designed to work with Boundless Exchange in the field. There is also an Android application as well, but since I showed you the Android application in the previous slide, I thought I'd show you the iOS version here. Both of these will enable the UN to do all of their humanitarian assistance, all of their peacekeeping operations, both in a connected state on the web and in a disconnected state in the field. The third part of phase one was creating a training structure that would help all members of the UN's peacekeeping and humanitarian assistance operations understand how to use this software. So through a really fruitful collaboration of many different organizations, the Geo Academy, the Geo for All initiative out of the OSGeo organization, the foundation, certainly the university in Milan, Boundless and others are all participating in creating courses for all UN users to learn how to use these applications and be successful with them in the field. I do want to thank Maria. I know she's on the phone. She's worked tirelessly with Alberta and others to make sure that the QGIS course went off very successfully. And we will shortly have the PostGIS course ready to go in the January timeframe. So that'll be another course, another opportunity for users to learn how to use the applications as part of Spiral One. So those are the three big initiatives with Spiral One. Again, setting up a governance structure, setting up the foundational software to enable collaboration, sharing, and editing of data, both existing data sets and new data sets, and setting up a training structure that would enable all users to understand how to use these applications. That's all I have. Thank you again for your time and presenting today. Back to you, Keith.
Okay. Kim Yo, okay, you're good.
Okay, thank you very much. This is Diego Gonzalez. I've been working and supporting the capacity building Spiral under the leadership of Maria Antonia Proverli. I'm going to tell you a little bit about all the background of Spiral 2, what we've been doing for the last few months. Everything obviously started during the workshop in Brindisi in Italy with the rest of the UN partners and counterparts in the rest of the organizations in March. Everything was shared, everything that was discussed during the workshop was shared with Geo for All, and you can see there the link to the presentation. At the end of March, there was a call sent to all Geo for All labs asking for proposals for training materials for the UN staff. After 2 weeks of receiving those proposals, again there was another call asking the people to revise and review all the contributions that have been sent
and therefore to select the best that could fit the needs of the UN staff for their capacity building. Then during the month of July and August, during 1 month, we launched a survey, an electronic survey, to all the UN staff, asking them about their requirements with regards to the different courses modalities. After that, we gather all the after we gather all the requirements, we launched the first course in September, exactly on the 19th of September. It was the first edition of the QGIS GeoAcademy training. There was, or at the moment, we have already launched the second edition of the same training. In total, we have already trained about 35 students, all of them from different UN missions. And there is a scheduled, as Anthony mentioned, the first course of the data management using PostGIS, done with material from Boundless. So with regards to the survey, the electronic survey, it was divided in three parts. The first one about the staff member. We wanted to know a little bit which staff were answering the questions. Obviously, it was an anonymous survey. In total, there were about 35 participants from all the peacekeeping missions in the UN. The second part of the survey was about the knowledge of open source GIS that the UN staff have, and the third part was the different preferences that the staff have on regarding the training modalities. So as I mentioned earlier, the survey was open for about a month. Between the beginning of July and the beginning of August. And these are, you can see here, the main findings that we got. We try to compare the open software with the proprietary software, and what people think is that open source is best at customization, open standards, and overall costs, as opposed to the proprietary software. About the knowledge of open source software, the people know, especially about the well-known the de facto standards on the open source world, the QGIS, PostGIS, GeoServer, and OpenLayers. Unfortunately, only 2 respondents said that they have acquired official training on open source software. Their priority for training is obviously the first one is the desktop GIS, and the second one database management. The majority of the staff prefer the on-site instructor-led training during an intensive course of 2 to 3 or 4 days, and they mentioned that they prefer to have an exam at the end of the course, and obviously also a certificate. Thank you very much. I pass the phone to Maria.
Hello, good day to everybody, or good night to everybody. Just to continue what Diego was explaining, we collected all the possible training material that is available in OSGeo, and not only in OSGeo and OSGeo World. And you see how many pieces of software have available the training. You see also the web page where you can find all these tutorials if you are interested. With respect to the tutorials we got, starting from the survey, we concentrated on QGIS, PostGIS, GeoNode, GeoServer, OpenLayers, because they were prepared in the case of the staff of UN. Therefore, at this point, we had to decide how to provide these tutorials. And the idea we had that was sustainable is to offer these training as self-paced training, but assisted by some tutors. We needed to use an e-learning platform, and Politecnico di Milano offered his own e-learning platform, and also one person, Professor Albertella, who can help in putting in contact the students, the tutors, helping them in uploading the materials, helping them in being in contact, and so on. Then we started, as already Diego said, we started the first course, that is the course of QGIS GeoAcademy, thanks to some tutors. Specifically for this course, we have as tutor Rick Smith, Thomas Muller, and Yongpo Kang. And I want to thank them all because they are doing a very great and good job. At the end of the course, the student have an exam and a certificate in recognition of the completion of the course. And at the moment we are at the end of the second edition of QGIS, and we are starting from tomorrow the third edition of QGIS. But as already was mentioned, we will start on January with PostGIS. The tutorial selected was the boundless one. And we will continue with the GeoNode, with GeoServer, OpenLayers. But then we have some more ideas with respect to the future, because starting from the survey, we have learned that the staff of UN prefer the on-site instructor-led training. So we are thinking also about this possibility. And then the last point is that we need also to prepare new ad hoc courses specifically studied for the UN staff. With respect to this one, for sure we need the help of all of you. So if there are people interested, first of all, you can follow what we are doing as OSGeo, looking at the website that is reported on this slide, or you can be in touch with us, writing, because really we need the collaboration of all people of Geo4All and not only of Geo4All. Thank you.
They specifically, they don't call themselves a generic GIS platform. Everything in their marketing is for utility.
So this is Haekyung. Hello everybody. So I will report the progress of Spiral 3. And in current, the member of Spiral 3 is what you are seeing on the slide. So on behalf of UN, Chung is leading this Spiral 3, and me, I'm a co-leader. And also main architect and developers are the members from OpenGDS team, Min-Pal Lee and Ji-Hyun Kim. And also we have technical advisor from OpenGDS team, Professor Kwang Woo-Nam and Professor Gi-Jun Lee. So if you look back, to the first workshop which held in the Brindisi, the geospatial analysis, it was defined as a spiral 2. However, so at the moment, the structure looks like this. And to implement this geo-analysis function, so we would like to get the request from the UN. So on behalf of UN, Chang sent us their request for geo-analysis. For instance, they gave the list of geo-analysis functions in terms of vector data and the raster data, and also in the application level, they asked to us several functions like suitability analysis and monitoring and assessment functions. So for the while, we tried to develop all the functions which UN requested, and basic functions are implemented by using the GeoTools, and if there is no functions in GeoTools, then we tried to add some functions into the GeoTools. And it's all the geo-analysis functions can be used through the GeoServer. So by respecting the international standard like WFS, WMS, and WPS. So as you see on the slide, so we are developing, a processing toolbox like ARC toolbox and modelers, and if we need to combine primitive functions, then we make a chain of process chain by using the WPS. We respect the license LGPL for GeoTools, and GPL for the GeoServer, and BSD license for UDIG. And we compared all the functions which we are developing with existing products like ArcGIS and QGIS and others. So this slide shows the comparison. Actually, right now we are having the second workshop in Seoul, and we demonstrated all the development results. And I prepared the slide, but Ki-jun, he didn't allow me to insert because of the number of slide sheets. So after this meeting, I will upload our development results on the APEN. So actually we almost more than 80% we finished to implement for the vector functions, functions for the vector layers, and functions for the raster data. And also now what we are doing is we are developing some application level functions, like for instance like a helicopter landing zone. For implementing this kind of application analysis, we need to get information about how we can analyze so what kind of data set UN use and which floor and parameters UN use. So those kind of information we need. So after this symposium, we will contact to the UN, and we will get information to implement this kind of application level analysis. So after this symposium, we will keep in touch with the UN staff to develop application what they would like to use. So that's all. Thank you.
Thank you very much for your attention. I'm sure that you have enjoyed our introduction of the UN Open GIS initiative. I hope that you actually see various aspects of what we as a UN Open GIS initiative like to achieve. But also, many of you actually can see that the collective effort from myself, this is Kyung-soo again, from me to all of the other colleagues, we actually work as a one collectively to actually come up with a common solution to support UN operation. The important is that I'd like to share with you throughout this collective effort and harmonize of the effort to achieve the common goal of the UN operation, eventually to save the people and also improve the quality of the life. These are actually our ultimate goal to be achieved. I'm definitely sure that we will be able to achieve this ultimate goal throughout our collective and collaboration and cooperation of the spirit of the United Nations as well as at the OSGO. Thank you very much. I appreciate that your attention on all of this introduction of the UN Open GIS initiative. Thank you.
Thank you for the presentation. It was really good. So we have a few questions. Let's start with the first one. The mobile application that it was developed, right now it's only for Android. Is there any plans to have it for the iPhone?
Yeah, so to answer to the question, Anthony would be able to answer that question, but Anthony, unfortunately, because of his own schedule, he is not here. But to the question, I'd like to answer to the best of my knowledge. So they are planning to provide the iOS solution as well as Android solution, but I'm not quite sure. So when they release the mobile version for Android, iOS, but it will be not very late. So that's the answer to the question.
Next question. On the migration between open source and proprietary software, which one has been kind of the benefits of doing that transition, and which are the current limitations of that transition?
Okay, so the benefit of the gradual migration is that, first of all, in terms of the risk management, we can reduce the problem that may happen during the migration. For example, the UN are using many proprietary commercial software for many current applications. So if we change the software and the fundamental system, that may cause several problems. So we may start from the most simple one and then attack the next one and so on. And one of our approach is not only use open source software, but also in a hybrid way we interoperable. We make it interoperable with proprietary commercial software and open source software.
And also important aspect of this strategy is that because we don't want to interrupt the ongoing operation, so we like to maintain the same level of the operational capacity while we are smoothly transit to the other system.
We have another question. How can we contribute to this initiative?
That's a good question. I think maybe I'd like to actually ask Professor Maria to answer that in general. However, that I can answer before actually she can answer that. As you can see that we have a number of different partners that who bring their strengths, and each of the individual bring that each of the different organization and members, UN member state bring their strengths to complement each other. There might be a lot of the gap because we are still in building, so there are a number of different kind of gaps that can be filled by, for those who actually are interested, number two has some of the strengths to plug in. So that I think that that's a kind of the general principle that I can share with you. So it must be complement each other, and also important to know is harmonization among those partners and supporters. Maybe over to Professor Maria.
Yes, I think that the main point is that everybody can participate in this project with their capacity. So if you are a professor or if you are a teacher, you can help us with the capacity building. If you are a developer, you can help in developing pieces of software applications that are useful and so on. So there are no limitations. I think that everybody can help.
Absolutely. This is a united effort.
Yes,
right?
United effort for United Nations.
For United Nations, ultimately it's a save people.
Yes.
Right? And then also improve that our quality of the life.
And I'd like to add one more word to answer that question. So if you are interested in joining to UN OpenGIS initiative, you may contact one of the presenter of this slide. You may find the email address at the first page of this slide. Then we will give more detailed information.
Thank you.
Kim Jong, can you move the slide to the first one so people can see the emails and the names, if you don't mind? Next question. Currently, what do you consider is the main challenge in achieving the goals of your project?
So I will try, there are many challenges. So I will try to answer that question firstly. So we have two big components. The first one is software and the solution. And the second one is the capacity. So in order to the solution and the software, we work together with the UN staff. So from the requirement analysis and the functional specification and development and the validation of the developed software. These are one thing. And the next thing is the capacity building. I think that with the help of the whole group of open source software community, I think it's more or less can achieve the first goal. That means the developing software and the solution. But the real problem is the capacity. So that means we should not only to provide the capacity of inside in United Nations, but also the sustainable capacity from outside of United Nations. So that is the big challenge. And I think we can solve this problem and overcome that problem by uniting all our strengths in terms of open source community.
Yes, thank you very much, that Professor Lee. That I also can add that, as many of you are aware, that the United Nations is not the research center or academia. They are actually operationally oriented, which means the resource that we have as a skilled STEM members is actually very much well known about the commercial solution at the moment, so that we have to transit from that skill into the more open source basis. So we have a very limited number of the STEM members has some skill. That is why the capacity building and training, initial training and induction is a critical aspect, and which need to be drastically improved. Professor Maria Robelli actually is taking the lead together with Mr. Diego Gonzalez. They are focusing to how we can build a certain level of the capacity to handle and maintain and operate properly of the open source based software. Over to you.
Now that you mentioned Maria, so there's another question. Have you thought reaching out to professional organizations, and this is just basically like for the US will be CAGES, ASPRS, to help you promote the training or support you with the training?
Oh, yes, why not? What we can do is also, because we need to create a new tutorial, more advanced or more useful for the UN staff exigencies. Therefore, if there are people who want to help and have experience with respect to open source GIS, they're more than welcome for sure. So for sure, tell them to write me if they're interested in contributing.
Yes. In general, that if I may, I think many of the, all of our UN STEM members, they are actually fully booked for their dedicated daily works, and has a lot of many different kind of activity has to be done. At the same time, they also are willing to learn about that open source, but still as a time constraint and also knowledge constraint, as well as some of the interest or motivation constraint as well. So if some of you or many of you has an idea how we can build some sort of good momentum to build a motivation of the United Nations STEM members, that would be the good contribution for that purpose.
And last questions that we have. So you mentioned you're handling 2D and 3D data. So right now, 3D is being pushed kind of the ultimate format of way to display and analyze data. How are you guys taking in account or developing that section of the initiative?
Yeah, that's a very good question and a technical question. So of course, the starting point, we are pretty much focused on the 2D technology, but at the same time, we are developing some software, some module to support 3D. So it is composed of two things. The first one is the GeoServer and GeoTools level. So we are now extending the functionality of GeoTools not only to support 2D spatial data, but also 3D spatial data. So we try to extend the functionality of GeoTools for handling 3D data. And then we can integrate the GeoTools to GeoServer to provide 3D functionalities. This is one thing. So GeoServer together with GeoTools, we provide the backbone system structure for further application. This is one thing. And the another thing is if we have a robust engine or the backbone system for supporting 3D, then we can put the client layer for 3D services like Cesium or worldwide wind, something like that. So we are developing some of the solutions to extend the functionality of cesium. Of course, cesium, it is now supporting 3D, but we are enhancing the performance and so on to provide better solutions. So this is what we are doing to support 3D functions.
Next question. Will be there any utilization of Esri software for this support?
Yeah, but till now we have a plan to validate our software, not only in terms of the functionality, but also the performance and so on. And regard to the performance evaluation and the functionality validation, of course, we have to compare and validate by with the ESRI software. That is on the process of assessment task of UN OpenGIS initiative. But till now, we are a very early stage of the development, so we don't have any concrete result of the comparison with existing software.
And our last question, for what purposes the collected geodata will be used?
That means why we need the geodata collection is necessary. So
yeah.
So UN.
Oh, data collection.
Data collection.
I see.
Yeah.
Okay. I think maybe I can add that on the field condition that UN is operating is mostly not well, developed national spatial data infrastructure in general, and sometimes that when we deploy to the certain underdeveloped nation, they don't even actually have a map in paper map, right? So, which means that there is no such kind of the detailed map. Though some of the map is existent, still are very much outdated or maybe not accurate. So the two data collection, one is continuous effort to improve geospatial data. At the same time, we have to also collect the operational data, such as incident type of the data or any kind of operational data of the location of the peacekeepers or humanitarian actors, civilian, staff members, and so on and so forth. So those are the very important element of the information in order to support decision making. So that's why we are able to establish or build up a broad sense of the situational awareness of the area of the operation. Maybe Diego, that you have any other comment on that?
And I think so the last question, who collects the ground data in relation to the prior question?
Diego.
Basically, in a peacekeeping mission, we try first of all to leverage our own UN staff to go into the field, but due to the security situation, in some cases, we have to use third parties like different contractors, or in most of the cases, the UN military, the blue helmets. That's on one side with regards to the ground data. Obviously, we try to leverage also the satellite imagery, and then we try to combine all different sources in order to come up with the best and the most accurate geospatial products.
And another important aspect that our strategy that we like to make all peacekeepers and humanitarian actors and even NGO as a part UN operation that like to be as a sensor, means wherever they go, they can actually keep update of the geospatial information as well as at the operational information.
So that was our last question. I want to thank everybody. Excellent presentation. This was our last GeoBite for the year, and we'll start back again next year in January. The schedule will be posted on the SPRS website, and Geo4All will have it also. And thank you very much, everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you,
Thank
David.
you.
Thank you,
Thank
ciao,
you.
Rafael.
Thank you, Rafael and David, and all the participants.
Ciao, ciao.
All the best.